Teaching is very, very fulfilling. It's an experience in itself. Teacher is someone who is educating the leaders of tomorrow. Teacher hamara guru hai. Teaching is tough, but if you're passionate about something, it just becomes fun. And I bring a lot of gamification in my teaching methodology. Even though they teach people, but they are lifelong students themselves. It's important, when you are a teacher, you play different roles, you wear different hats. So I guess my students are my strength. They are the ones who made me what I am today. Rock your virtual sessions. Be a learner and be open to change. Don't ever think that you have reached the pinnacle. It is just the beginning. And it's important to work smart. Gone are the days, work hard. Rome was not built in a day. अगर आप कोई भी चीज सोचो कि सक्सेस मुझे ऐसे रॉकेट की तरह मिल जाए तो बस किताबें ही बातें हैं. ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है. My becoming an author was just by the way. I'm my favorite.
I am your host Gaurav Garg and we welcome all our viewers to our show Amazing Mentor. Today with us is Dr. Bakshi Khurdi. She is an award-winning educationist, author, TEDx speaker and a global goodwill ambassador for many international causes and organizations. A multitasking supermom to her children at home, she is an empathetic yet wise friend to her students at work. Today a prominent name in the world of education, she started her career as an educationist close to 2 decades ago. In this time, she had spoken at distinguished events and received prestigious awards worldwide. Some of her awards and recognition from various countries include International Woman of Courage, Ambassador of Peace, Ambassador of the United World, Global Warrior COVID-19, International Icon Award, Exceptional Woman of Excellence, etc. She is the author of the book How to Engage Learners in a Virtual Learning Environment. It's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Bakshi Khurdi to our show Amazing Mentor. Welcome, ma'am.
Namaskar, everyone. Thank you so much, Gaurav ji, for the wonderful introduction. I'm really happy to be on your show.
My pleasure, and thanks for your precious time. So, tell us about your childhood and any particular childhood memory that strikes your mind when you hear the word childhood.
Childhood is something like everyone has fond memories or amazing memories. And when you say childhood, it just brightens your eyes up. I have some really good memories growing up in Uttar Pradesh. I really loved being a part of a community where it was a mix of traditions, culture, and rich heritage. I loved being in Lucknow. I come from Kashmir, originally from Kashmir, but grew up in Lucknow. I have some really fond memories as a child growing up and going to Kashmir during summer vacations. It used to be like heaven, by exchange of scorching heat in Lucknow to Kashmir. It was really wonderful. And I just loved being with my grandparents and enjoying the beauty of Kashmir.
So what about your educational background, schooling and higher education?
I had my schooling in Lucknow. I did my bachelor's again from Lucknow, from Isabel Thoburn College, IT College. I'm a proud alumni of that institute, where even my mother did her graduation from, and she even served as the president of Alumni Association. For my higher education, again, I was in Lucknow. I'm a Lucknow loyalist. So I stayed with the Jaipuriya Institute of Management, Lucknow, where I did my MBA with specialization in human resources management and marketing.
So any particular school, college memory that you would like to share?
Well, when you talk about college and school, it's always like puts you back in the childhood. You remember the things that you did, having a nice and serious face, but the mischief going on within, like a kid, any other kid. So yes, I remember when we had college elections in IT, that is Isabel Thoburn College in Lucknow. I was chosen as the secretary of the SGA, that's called Student Government Organization. And it was fun because I never expected to be playing a role of a leader, but I was nominated by some of my batchmates, and we had to contest for elections. And it was beautiful because we had to go per class, bachelor's, BSc, Bachelor of Arts, Home Science, and all the classes to ask for votes why I should be the candidate chosen for the secretary of the college. And it was fun because sometimes they would say, can you dance? Okay, dance. Can you sing? Sing. So even if you didn't have ragging, the healthy ragging, it was fun to be part of something like that because I enjoyed doing that. And once I became the secretary of the college, which was very, very prestigious to be one, I started becoming much more serious because before, when we had prayer sessions, I would hide or I would eat during that session, not go to the church because we had a church where people would go for, praying sessions. But it was fun when I became the secretary myself, holding a responsible position. I started telling everyone, guys, you should go. It's moral education. You should definitely attend the function. So it changed a lot of things in my life after becoming and playing a role of a leader in my college back then.
So what was your dream profession as a child?
I think as a child, I always wanted to become a teacher. I was very, very clear about that. I would always be, in the house with a small blackboard, and teaching my grandmother. I used to tell her, you don't know how to read and write. It is something very important. Like imagine a 4-year-old talking to a grandmother, because I would always see her in the house and my parents would be going to office. So I thought because she's not educated or because she's not been to a school, probably she doesn't have a job. So she's all the time in the house. Little did I know that she's leading her retired, fun life, chilling with her grandchildren. So I always wanted to be a teacher, training people, making more and more awareness about something which I would come to know as a kid, So it's really, I'm living my dream. I always wanted to be a teacher and I am one right now.
Great. Very few people have one dream which is continuous in the nature. You have that dream and you have succeeded in that particular dream.
Yes, I thank God for that, that I am living my dream, what I always wanted to do. I am doing that very happily.
So where did you started your career journey from?
My career started in Lucknow. I was one of those, I would say, lucky batchmates back in JIM, Jaipuria, who got a campus placement in Colgate-Palmolive. So I was very happy to be chosen as one of the first ones to get the job. But since the job was in Delhi, and my parents being very, very traditional and conservative, they didn't want me to go and leave the city and work all by myself in Lucknow. So I took a back seat. I stayed back. I did not take the job. And I took up a teaching job in Lucknow, in Mahanagar Girls Inter College, as well as Delhi College of Fashion, teaching again. So this was fun because I started with MGIC and Delhi College of Fashion as a teacher, teaching business. But because of my work and because of how I was always giving new ideas or innovative techniques of making learning fun, I think that got noticed. And within, I would say, a span of 3 months, I got a direct appointment as a principal of the same college where I joined as a lecturer. So it was a dream come true, serving as a principal of Mahanagar Girls College, which is now known as Loyola International in Lucknow. And I was an under 30 dynamic principal of a college. So you can imagine how much fun it is to be heading an institute of more than, I would say, 1,000 students. And approximately, if I'm not mistaken, back then, good 20 teachers working with me as a great team.
So what were your initial days challenges as a teacher and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, you can understand if you are under 30, not a PhD, not having that vast experience of a principal and heading a college where most of the people were older, it was not easy. It was not a cakewalk. So for the outside world, I was a celebrity principal, always being invited as a judge, as a chairperson, attending these events. But for me as a person, it was not so pleasant because my own team in the school was not with me. There was a bit of professional jealousy. There was a bit of uncertainty. How can a young girl of yesterday become a principal today? That kind of a thing. Arey, itni choti age mein iske barabar ki to hamari ladki hai. Those kind of talks were happening around. And I was a bit upset, but I always had the smile on my face. I always had that confidence that I'm going to change them. मैं इन्हें अपने साथ लेके चलूंगी. And with that belief in my mind, I kept on moving. So अगर मुझे रोना होता था, I would go inside and shed tears in the toilet or in the privacy of my room. But if someone would come to talk to me or discuss something professionally, I would always have a very positive approach and a smile on my face to show that yes, I am capable, and that's why I am here. And I would say it was not easy. Now that I'm talking about it, it looks very simple, but it was not easy. I was not welcomed with open hands, though the management had taken that decision. So they must have seen something in me. That's why they promoted me. But I was not taken in cushion hands by the staff back then. But within a span of few months, I won them over and we became a very good team.
So what about students? Any particular challenges which was faced by you as far as students are concerned as a new teacher?
Well, as a new teacher, I think I was very lucky that in the beginning, because I was young, didn't have much of an experience. This I'm talking about India. When I started in India, I was a bit enthusiastic but not sure at times, because I always felt the pressure that I have to do more. I have to prove myself with my contemporaries who are much more experienced. And you can see that, management is more male dominated, more and more professors, especially in management, MBA, are male. So I had to work doubly to prove myself that I'm quite capable and quite good at what I'm doing. And when I moved to Switzerland, because of being the principal of a college in India, I got a direct appointment and I was working here as a lecturer in a management institute. So that was a journey that I really worked much, much harder, even harder than in India, because here I was one and all the eyes were on me, coming from India, a girl from India, that kind of a thing. So I really worked on my courses. I really worked on my syllabus. I worked on my assignments in such a way that it doesn't look like any other person's assignment, but something good, something creative. So I really worked on my, I would say, how I speak to the people, because in India they would say, "Oh, Professor, you speak very fast." So I worked on my diction. I worked on my style of teaching, because in India, management or teachers are guru. So you respect them. You have that टीचर टॉट रिलेशनशिप एज टीचर हमारा गुरु है, तो जो भी टीचर कहेगा वो सही है और हमें मानना है. बट हियर इट वाज नॉट सो. When I was saying something and there were people who did not agree to it, they would say, excuse me, professor, can you elaborate a bit more? I don't think I agree with what you're saying. So जब पहली बार ऐसा मेरे साथ हुआ, I got scared. I was like, oh my God. I was little bit like, oh my God, like, that kind of feeling, and I kept cool. But then I explained him again, and then he was like, it sounds good, but still I'm not convinced. So then I understood that this is a cultural difference. I need to work not just on my knowledge. I need to work upon also the cultural differences and how to work on the physical gap between teacher and taught. Because here in the West, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a minister, whether you are whatever portfolio you hold, you are responsible to answer people in case they ask a question. It doesn't matter आपका status क्या है. It doesn't matter आपकी position क्या है. If they're asking you something, you have to be answerable and be convincing. So as a teacher, I think I really worked on that, because it was not easy to convince the students here, because they are almost as buddies. So only when they are convinced, they become your team, and then they are your word of mouth, So in the beginning, I had to struggle on my cultural difference, language difference, and also the knowledge. Read more to explain better in the classes.
So you have been in many countries like UK, Netherlands, Switzerland, India, USA, Nepal, Australia, UAE, to name few. So which country's teaching method did you like the most and why?
I would think in terms of the knowledge, if you are saying, then India is the best. There's no comparison. The way people in India are taught, the extensive knowledge that we have, it's amazing. But having said that, in India, there is a lot of pressure on the students. And that's what I did not like. Because when I moved here in Switzerland, I noticed the difference straight away. It was not easy. I felt that students were more relaxed. It was more work related. It was more what they are learning and implementing the same. Whereas if I compare with India, the knowledge is great. The information given is extensive, but the pressure on students is also a lot. And which I think is something that we should work upon. We should have continuous evaluation, and so that the pressure of exams is not there. Because when there is exams, some students have that exam phobia, they become scared. And उस वक्त क्या होता है कि बच्चे या तो overplay करते हैं या तो underplay करते हैं, So I think we need to change that. We need to have more continuous evaluation so that students are more relaxed. एंड जब उनका रोज रोज हर दिन हर हफ्ते एग्जाम्स होते रहेंगे या क्विजेस होते रहेंगे, द प्रेशर इज नॉट जस्ट ऑन वन मेन थिंग, दैट इज द मिड टर्म एग्जाम और द फाइनल एग्जाम. Then they're more relaxed and they just do it as, learning every day, not learning by rote. रात को एग्जाम से एक दिन पहले पढ़ रहे हैं या बैठे हुए अपना रिपोर्ट्स बना रहे हैं, वो सब नहीं है. जब आपका कंटिन्यूस इवैल्यूएशन है एंड दे आर डिफरेंट मेथड्स, not just exam but quizzes are there, role plays, other aspects are there also to evaluate your performance, then I think it will become much better, which is more in West as compared to India.
So how tough is teaching as a profession?
That's a very good question. Teaching is tough, but if you're passionate about something, it just becomes fun. And I come from a genre of teachers who enjoy learning what they are doing. And I bring a lot of gamification in my teaching methodology, so it's fun for me. And when I think it's fun for me, it automatically becomes fun for my learners as well. So one has to always keep up to date with what is happening around you, so that students are also updated. They are not learning something which is old, something which is primitive. So as a teacher, even though you remain a teacher all your life, but you need to update skills because you are developing the future of the country. You're educating the masses. So you definitely need to educate your skills. You need to update your skills. You need to work on it on a consistent basis. Because अगर आप consistently work करोगे, automatically बच्चे भी आपके साथ engage रहेंगे, बच्चे भी enjoy करेंगे what they're learning, and it becomes like a life learning process for everyone. So teachers, even though they teach people, but they are lifelong students themselves.
So what are different teaching methods opted in different countries you have worked in?
I think now more and more countries are focusing on using gamification, technology, innovative methods, more creative ideas are flowing as compared to traditional chalk, blackboard and stuff like that. More and more places are working on how to make it practical. Because if it is just by learning by reading or learning by, PowerPoint presentations or big books, then it's not fun anymore. So now, thanks to technology, that we live in an era which is digitally advanced, and more places, education is becoming like a life learning thing, which is like consistent. Every day people are learning just by reading online. And that's what more and more countries are also doing, I would say, especially in India. Also it's happening, but especially in West, it's more that it's very much practical implications, practical ways of learning by doing. That has become more evident as compared to just by the books. That was more, I would say, classical or traditional approach.
So as per a student, what's your rapport? Tough or friendly with the students?
I'm very friendly with my students. I just like to keep it very simple, very basic, especially I would say during pandemic, when the whole world was going through crisis, through a difficult phase. I try to make it really very simple and very empathetic with my students, because I knew how they are feeling. Some of them, they were away from their families. Those of them who were living in boardings, or those of them who were living away, having their internships in a different country altogether. So I tried to be more and more close with them as a teacher, sometimes as a sister, or as a mentor, as a guide, whatever, depending on what relationship they wanted. Because it's important, when you are a teacher, you play different roles, you wear different hats. You are not just a teacher with a danda in the hand, with a stick in the hand, but you are a teacher who is trying to make them comfortable and creating a safe learning environment. And I think as a teacher, I have created a lot of learning and creative stuff with my students together. So it has been a learning approach for both me as well as them. It's not just I'm giving, I'm also receiving from them. There are a lot of things which I have received from them, like some of my students. Recently, I've started my TikTok, which I thought is just for kids. But some of my students said, no, Professor, you should be on TikTok. Your videos are amazing. So please create some bites and share them on TikTok. It's great. TikTok is the future because I'm more a LinkedIn person. I'm more keeping it to LinkedIn. And for my social commitments and social engagements, it's Facebook. But thanks to my students, I listened to them. I created those accounts and I'm really enjoying their support, and I'm enjoying it as well.
So what do you love about teaching the most?
Teaching is very, very fulfilling. It's an experience in itself. learning by doing, enjoying what you're doing. So to educate my students, I'm learning those things, learning those skills very much by myself. And when you implement it, it is actually that whatever you learn, you are sharing it with the people, and that's what makes it very fulfilling. And it's an activity, as I said, it's a lifelong activity. It's a consistent approach, and one always has to be giving more than receiving more. Of course, when I say receiving, that's like you need to listen what is happening around you. You need to listen to what your students are looking for, and then you should provide it so that it's a two-way process and much more fulfilling.
So what's your teaching style and philosophy?
I use a lot of gamification in my teaching. I use a lot of creative and innovative methods in teaching. In the school, I'm known as the Kahoot professor. So if you see on LinkedIn, a lot of my students, they write hashtag Kahoot professor. And I must say, I'm very proud that I'm the only verified Kahoot educator in Switzerland, which I enjoy because I create my own content. So whatever I'm reading or whatever I'm teaching my students, I create quizzes on Kahoot, which is my own quiz. It's not taken from somebody. I create what I'm doing. And it is fun because students enjoy when it is like a game-like situation. So अगर आप ऐसी situation बनाते हैं जिसमें it's like ये हो गया, what are the questions, and you give them some set of questions, you give them a case study, it's different क्या हुआ. But if you are doing it in a fun way, you're creating those things like जो मेरे case studies होते हैं, तो उसके जो role play, like the characters in the case study become my students. You know, like there's a problem in a hotel, the general manager was doing blah, blah, blah. Employee had this issue with another employee A and employee B. So those characters are played by my students and they do role play. So just to give you a small example that on my YouTube, if you want, you can go and see, there is a section on playlist of HR, human resources management, and all the videos are the prize winning videos, which are from my students. So whatever lessons we have learned, like conflict management or how to be a good HR manager or how to have good role playing at interviewing techniques, so they are all being done by my students. So they do it, some of them have been done on Zoom. जब हम लोग crisis में थे, these students were also working creatively on their home assignments. So this is the way, you know, when you make learning fun, बच्चों को अपने आप मजा आता है, doesn't matter what age group. And my age group of students is starting from 17 most of the time to sometimes they are even older than me. So you can imagine, it's a good balance. So when you create game-like situations, when you create quizzes which are live, which are fun, it automatically stimulates the students and then they are completely engaged in the lessons. So I completely believe that learning can be fun if you engage your students and they give your 100%, but you also need to give your 100%. Only then the result is, you know, both ways a win-win.
Great. So how would you define teacher?
Teacher is someone who is always giving and sharing the ideas. Teacher is someone who is educating the leaders of tomorrow. Teacher is someone who is there present for you. She remains there or he remains there, but he makes the karma go on and on.
So what was the toughest challenge you have to face in your professional life?
That's a tough question, Gauravji. Yes, the toughest challenge that I had to face, especially when I came to Switzerland, was establishing myself as an educator, as a lecturer, very strong in what I believe. Because as I said, management is a very male-dominated industry, a teaching and management industry. So it was not really easy for me to establish myself, especially at that time. I didn't have a BBA, I didn't have my PhD. I had just come from India. But being the principal of a college helped me to get in the league easily. That was an easy step. But establishing myself or establishing my methods of teaching was not easy. Because here, again, I think God was there with me. I became a dean of a college in an all-girls college here, a very prestigious all-girls college here in Switzerland. And I was an under 30 dean. So back home in India, I had the celebrity status of being a under 30 principal. But here when I came, I was also appointed as a dean of a college, academic dean. And that time also, I faced similar situation at workplace because my method of teaching was different. I was completely into gamification. I was completely into using boards, you know, like whiteboards, using more and more technology. Whereas the teachers in that school were using still blackboard and chalks. and they were not ready to do the transition from the chalk to the laptop. So I was having a difficult time explaining them, guys, you need to change. Future is technology. You need to be more technically advanced. So it was little difficult because the director also was from old school methodology, and it was very difficult to convince him as well to move with the flow. But by and by, they noticed when my classes were happening, students were more happy, students were more responsive, and they were talking about it. Thanks to social media these days, when teachers and students are having a good rapport, students are the ones who are doing word of mouth. So I guess my students are my strength. They are the ones who made me what I am today. And of course, the management also, because they believed in me and they gave me those responsibilities, they gave me those situations or opportunities in life that I kept on working and improvising and evolving as a person. So I would just say that we need to all work together and be very consistent, because only when one is consistent, one can face any responsibility, face any challenge with a smile and be a winner.
So how do you use technology in your classroom?
Technology, as I said, I use Kahoot quizzes, which is live quizzes. Everyone is having it at the real time, playing together. I use a lot of TEDx platform. As a TEDx speaker, I had the opportunity of joining the TED platform, which is tell, explain, describe of whatever education you are doing, whatever role plays you are doing. You have a video and try to teach your students with video. So teaching human resources management can be boring sometimes. So what I do is I take these videos, I take these amazing videos from different industries, hospitality, academic, banking, and create my own questions on the TEDx platform. So this is just a very, very, I would say, informative as well as creative way of engaging the students. Instead of playing and telling them to read the case study, they're actually watching the videos together and discussing the questions together. But individually, once they have created their accounts, they are working and answering those questions as well. So I use maximum technology in my sessions so that everyone is engaged. And I try to have more and more live sessions, whatever we are doing together, I give them an opportunity. Okay, what do you think about it? What is your opinion? So then I put it on the notice board, which again is live, and everyone starts writing, so everyone is seeing the questions popping on the screen. And when they see other people writing the questions or other people answering those questions, the quieter people who are not very active or who are a little bit of, timid students, they also become active. Because, when you're teaching international students, it's very normal. Some students are very talkative, blah, blah, blah. But कुछ बच्चे ऐसे होते हैं जिनके दिमाग बहुत तेज होते हैं, but बोलते कम है वो लोग. So उनको भी engage करने के लिए, I think it is important that we need to have more and more such kind of things where they are not really using their mouth much, but their brains. And to stimulate the kids or stimulate my students, I think it is important that we have to have a good balance between technology and, of course, face-to-face, giving experiences and giving ideas where they can express themselves and be better learners.
Tell me about a time when a situation changed or something unexpected or crisis happened at work, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, well, that's very, very normal. As I said, today we have more international students. So it's normal that they have issues, they have problems, misunderstandings, communication issues. So I listen to them evenly. I give them a patient hearing in private. If there are 2 or 3 people having a fight, I listen to all 3 of them individually. And then we have a problem, we discuss them together. So first is private and then is public hearing, that is together, the 3 or 4 of us. That is one thing. Other crisis situations sometimes could be team issues, when most of the projects that are given these days are in teams or in different groups. And it's very, very normal. Sometimes students don't get along in the groups. They have issues because कुछ बच्चे बहुत बोलते हैं और कुछ बच्चे कुछ काम नहीं करते हैं, निकम्मे बच्चे भी होते हैं. So कुछ काम नहीं करते हैं, वो बस एडवांटेज लेते हैं कि वो एक अच्छे ग्रुप में हैं and they can just chill around. So we try to have a balance in those situations, and it's normal. अगर crisis ना हो तो हम कैसे evolve होंगे? So to have crisis, I think it's also a must, just as to have a conflict is also a must, because if everything is green, everything is happy ending, then it's not okay. That means something is not okay. So once we have crisis, we don't have to hush them up. We need to solve them. We need to listen to everyone, not just one-sided party, but all the people involved, and then take a decision on the basis of how you feel, how you would react, what would you do in that situation, and only then we can have a good solution to the problem.
So how do you like to build or communicate and build relationship with the students?
I'm a community person. I like talking to people. I like enjoying what I'm doing. So of course, to build a good rapport with the students is very, very important, to understand them, to understand their culture. So sometimes, like I'll just give you an example, sometimes when we have these international days or when we have Independence Day of a particular country, we make sure that if I have people from that particular country, I celebrate that day with them. Or if it's their birthday, we have a record of all the students' birthdays. So when it's a birthday of a specific student of my class, I make sure that we sing happy birthday for that student and make him feel happy. Because most of my students here in Switzerland, they are living in boarding schools. So I make it a point that I appreciate them and I make them feel at home. And same is with my other students who are not my students now, who are my, ex-students, or who are my students back home in India. I feel very proud to say that I still have very good contact with them. And some of them are working in really very high positions as general manager or dean, director of a college, those kind of things. And it's really a pleasure to keep touch with them. But thanks to technology, we are able to do that. And I make sure whatever they are doing, how they are doing, big or small, doesn't matter. कोई भी achievement big or small नहीं होती है, आप उसे big or small बनाते हो. So I make it a point as a teacher, I always shower my blessings on them and make sure that they get it on time, which makes them feel valued and happy. And that's how the karma goes on and on.
So what was the best comment you got till date from a student?
There is no one best comment. I must say I'm spoiled. I'm happy that every now and then I get very good comments and very good appreciations from my students. I feel happy that I have my team of students, not just in one country, but in every country across the world who are representing me. I'm a proud teacher, and also I'm proud of my students because they keep on showering their comments, and I do the same because it's very important in today's world, especially when we are digitally so advanced, we need to connect emotionally. And I think I have made a very special position in the hearts of my students, and that's why they talk about me and I talk about them openly in whatever platform. If you need to appreciate a small achievement of your student, don't sit back. I would really appeal to all the professors, all the academicians and teachers out there. आप जितना अपने टीचर्स, आप जितना अपने स्टूडेंट्स को अप्रिशिएट करोगे, आप अपने टीचर्स को भी और अपने स्टूडेंट्स को भी अप्रिशिएट करोगे, you will see world will definitely move towards a progressive nation, the whole world. Because आजकल की सिचुएशन को देखते हुए it is very important आप अप्रिशिएट करो, आप एक दूसरे को एक्नॉलेज करो. Because the more you acknowledge, the more it makes other people feel empowered and valued. Digitally we might be advanced, but emotionally connections बहुत बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, बहुत दरारें आती जा रही हैं. So I think as teachers, आपको खाली जो bookish knowledge है वो नहीं teach करनी है, आपको also जो worldly knowledge है, how to connect, how to be empathetic is very much required. So I think the more people do that, the more you as teachers do that, I'm sure world will become a better place to live.
So what are the qualities of good teacher?
Qualities of a good teacher are like a never-ending thing. पढ़ो और पढ़ाओ, अपने को update करो, अपने को supreme मत समझो. If you have some good qualities, great, but make them best. Don't just sit on thinking that मैं गुरु हूँ तो मैं वहाँ पहुँच गया हूँ. It's not so. There are many others also who can be better than you. So keep on updating what you are doing. And it's very important since you are building a better future for your students. So make sure to listen as well. I think it's very important for the teachers to be good listeners because only when you listen, you will be able to implement it in a better way. And आप teacher हो तो इसके लिए आपको और भी ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है कि अपने स्टूडेंट्स की बात को समझो, अपने स्टूडेंट्स के साथ इमोशनली कनेक्ट करो. I think a teacher can only be a good teacher if he or she is empathetic and understands the situation of her students in a better position, in a better way. And only when she or he understands it, they can deliver in a good way.
So when did you first realize that you wanted to be an author?
to be very frank, I never wanted to be an author because I think authors are very, very boring. It requires a lot of energy, it requires a lot of patience, it requires a lot of time to be consistently working on a book. So I never thought in my dream, that was never in my to-do list. हालांकि जब मैं दूसरों की बुक्स देखती थी, अपने और को प्रोफेसर्स की बुक्स देखती थी, मैं कहती थी मे बी एक दिन मैं लिखूं, बट इट वाज नॉट इन माय टू डू लिस्ट एट ऑल. But I guess there is a new opening, there is a possibility for all situations, and I guess my becoming an author was just by the way. It's just, I think during COVID, when we were all going through this phase of disappointments, confusions and stress and all those things, कि पढ़ाई कैसे करें, बच्चों कैसे पढ़ाएं, students are not really in the class because you were just sitting in front of your Zoom or your Teams or whatever, like you are sitting in front of your monitors, but students are not there 100%. So whatever is working in my situation is not working in other situation, or whatever is working for other teachers is not working for me. So we were always in that udhirmun of learning and explaining to each other कि क्या चल रहा और क्या नहीं चल रहा है. So I guess it was just brainstorming with my co-workers, not just in Switzerland but also in rest of the world, that we were constantly discussing, and I was making notes कि क्या क्या चीजें अच्छी हो रही हैं, क्या क्या चीजें अच्छी नहीं हो रही हैं. And also I think during that time I started my degree in Derby, University of Derby in England, and I was working on my PG cert. So the topics that I was doing in my PG cert were kind of very much with what was happening at that point of time. So I guess, you know, जैसे आप एक teacher, आप update अपने skills करते रहते हो. So I was also into that, and I guess whatever I was learning over there, I started a bit implementing in my day-to-day learning. So जो भी चीजें were a win-win, I was taking notes of it, I was writing it down, I was documenting everything, and whatever was not happening or whatever was not good, I was putting a small cross over it. So when I was sharing those notes with my other friends, you know, कि आप अपनी क्लास में ये कर सकते हो, मेरी क्लास में ये चल रहा है, मेरी क्लास में वो चल रहा है, you know, so they said, why don't you document it? You already have so much information. Why don't you make like a small pocket book, which will be a win-win, which will be like a, you know, something that will help other teachers, other trainers also. So I said, that's a good idea. And that's how I wrote my very first book, which was completely by accident, but it became very, very successful again because it was dil se. It was a very, very sincere effort with what was working and what was a win-win formula, and it became a good hit. And I'm so happy that with that book, there are lots and lots of people globally who are using it as a template to engage learners in the virtual classroom. So it's not just for teachers, it's for trainers, it's for anyone and everyone who is using a virtual platform for their dailyhood. You know, like चाहे आप trainer हो, चाहे आप educator हो, जहाँ पर भी आप ये use कर रहे हो, my book is really an answer to make your audience 100% with you. They are going to be with you, they are going to be completely engaged if you follow the tips and some of the small secrets that I've shared in the book. So do read it.
So as an author by accident, what all challenges did you face while writing your book, and how was your journey from writing to publishing?
Well, writing to publishing, I would say writing was something that I had been doing as, you know, by the way itself, you know, for my other things, what is happening and what is not good. But when I was sure, or when I became a bit serious that yes, I have to publish a book, then I started documenting everything more, I would say, like with a proper vision. Like then I had a vision board that I need to do A, B, C. I have a date, I have this deadline, I need to work on it. So that was little bit because now that I had become a bit serious about it, I had some responsibility that there is a deadline to accomplish. So then I started paying more attention to other people point of view also. So it was not just my win-win formulas, but also trying to gather information from other people across the world. What is their win-win formula so that I could just put it in one place. And yes, it was a bit tedious because sometimes, you know, you are in one time frame, the other one is another time zone. So answers were not easy. I had to wait for some time for responses. And when I would say writing was a little bit of a, you know, issue in terms of getting answers from the people. And once I was almost in the process of putting it up there, then I had to wait for getting reviews from the people, because it was my very first book. So I was very cautious that I had some of the educators, some of the very creme de la creme, as they say in French, great educators who have already made their mark as an author. So I would have a proofread from them. So that was a little bit, I would say, like a waiting process, or my patience was like, oh my God, when is it coming? Because as I said, as a teacher, I'm patient. But for things like this, I start becoming impatient and excited like a kid. So it was a tedious process. But again, if there are people who are wanting to be authors, or if there are people who want to publish their first book, they have to be very, very patient. They have to do it very cautiously. Do a good research of the market, whether yours is the first one or yours is a new one in the area, or someone has already published something similar. So you need to be different. So those were some of the things that I started working a little bit more cautiously afterwards. Before it was just fun. But then I became a little bit more serious how my book can actually become a pocket version, a pocket book for every trainer or for every educator that he or she feels that this is a must read book. And I think that journey was a little bit, it took me longer to do that, but I'm happy that I did that. I did walk the talk, and I'm happy that I did that.
So how was the feeling when you received your first published copy in your hand?
Oh, amazing. I was on top of the world. Just like as a kid, I was jumping with my book, going around in the house, going around telling people, hey, my book is out. So it was very exciting. I never thought it would be like that, because I never wanted to write a book. But when I was holding my book in my hand, I had tears down my eyes, and I was very emotional. My kids were very happy. My co-workers were happy for me as well. Because yes, as an author, you feel suddenly a sense that I did it. I'm holding my production in my hand. Just as a mother, I became very happy when I became a mom, holding my baby in my hand. So this book was like my third child, holding in my hand and showing to the world that I am a published author now. So it was completely wow moment of my life.
So tell us more about your book, How to Engage Learners in a Virtual Learning Environment.
Well, for that, you have to read my book. I'm not going to give any details on that. It's an amazing book. It's really going to help you to engage your learners. And it's really something that you would feel, yes, I know this, but I have not been practicing it. So it's something that is a guideline. It's something like an approach, what approaches you can have, what methodologies you can use, the do's and don'ts also, because I've mentioned very clearly what you should do in your lessons, especially when you are having a virtual session, and what you should not do. And again, some of the technical things that we have to see, just as when you're having a, Zoom interview, or when you're having a Teams interview, whatever, Google, whatever you're using as a medium for virtual classes, you need to have a double check on technology, because sometimes you may have a great material, but technology pulls you down. So those are some of the things that you definitely need to pay attention to. And of course, I'm not sharing much of the things because I want you to read my book, and you need to see it's available on Amazon. It's available in most of the platforms, online platforms, as well as in person. If you need to have a signed copy, then you need to contact me, and I'll be very happy to give it to you.
So what is your favorite chapter in the book?
Favorite chapter? You are actually wanting me to talk more and more about my book. See, there is no one favorite chapter. I would just say I talk in the book about how to engage learners in the classroom. So each and every chapter talks about a specific way of engagement. And just as when we see a movie, some movies are like, we are watching a movie, but we are happy enjoying a popcorn. बट वो मूवी जिसमें आप पॉपकॉर्न खाना भूल जाएं, या वो मूवी जिसमें आप अपनी कॉफी का सिप लेना भूल जाएं और आपकी कॉफी ठंडी हो जाए, that means you have got a good movie. And that's what my book is about. You will get engaged when you read it, and will forget to have your popcorn, you'll forget to have your coffee, and finish it in one go, because it's a very chotu si book, a very small book. You will not be able to leave. If you're not able to leave that book in one go, that means you are engaged and you will love it. So go for it.
So if you could give book a new title, what would it be?
Rock Your Virtual Sessions. because I am saying it, how to engage learners in the virtual learning environment. That was from a educator's approach. But if you're talking from like really cool kind of an approach, I would say how to rock your virtual session. And that could be for everyone, because in today's world, you are having a lot of competition. There's a lot of stiff competition, healthy competition. And to be a winner, you have to rock at whatever thing you are doing. And only when you stand out, that's why we say rock star. So only when you stand out, that means you have reached that milestone. You are up there and others are following you. You become an influencer, you become the word of the person, the word of mouth, KOL, key opinion leader. There are a lot of things. So to stand out, you have to rock. And that's what I would think of my book as well, how to rock your virtual sessions.
So how has been your journey from a human resource management lecturer to professor, human resource management and luxury organization behavior?
The journey has been, I would say, a roller coaster. Some days I enjoy, I just love teaching human resources. That's my favorite, I would say, course. But it was also very challenging to teach courses like communications and luxury, because being in Switzerland, we know the luxury of living in Switzerland, the luxury of breathing the fresh air, the luxury of living high quality of life. So it's important that whatever you are doing by yourself, you need to practice and share as well. And that's what I enjoyed most. As I said, HR could be boring, but when you try to have gamification, or when you try to have more and more creative methods in your method of teaching, completely engrossed with what you are doing, then it becomes fun. And same for communications. I would say being a TEDx speaker really helped me to teach and engage my communication students more, because the moment they would come, these days it's very common, your students research on you. It's not like the past, like you have your teacher and you just start having your lessons with him or her. Now the students are very, very smart. The Generation Z is like, wow. So when they're coming in your class, they already have done your background check. When I'm saying that, I really mean it, because this happens with me most of the time when I'm teaching, especially my communications students. They say, you have done your TEDx talk, professor. Can you tell us how was it? So when they say such kind of things, immediately it's like a bell that bing, they know about you. So it was a challenge, because then the expectations are higher. Just as in movies, we see if agar wo ek very established movie star ka beta hai ya beti hai, your expectations are higher. Are ye to iska beta hai, he or she will be good, or you start the comparison. So same as an educator, when you are in the vigil or when you're in the spotlight, you need to surpass your own expectations. You need to surpass the expectations of your students. So I am constantly challenging myself. I'm still working on my chapters. I'm still working on my course outlines. Every term I try to do something different so that students feel, this is exciting assignment. I want them to be excited about their exams, not be scared. And that's what I like to hear. Jab bachche aate hain, ya if you see on LinkedIn, because I am in the higher education, so lots and lots of my students, when they write their reviews, most of them, they write, we love classes because they're engaging. We love classes because they're energetic. So my students are trying to match my energy, which is fun, because I'm learning from them and they are learning from me. And I think that's a journey which I'm enjoying more and more. And I'm very open to having new methodologies consistently in my teaching. It's not that I have these 3 or 4 and I'm happy doing that. I'm a learner. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm constantly learning new ways how I can make it even better. I never feel that I'm there. I'm very thirsty. I always try to make my thirst for knowledge go higher and higher. So if as a teacher out there, people who are watching, if you as a teacher is someone who wants to create a niche for yourself, be a learner and be open to change. Don't ever think that you have reached the pinnacle. It is just the beginning. Always try to give that pointer to yourself. It's just the beginning. You need to do better. And only when you do this, only when you keep on challenging yourself, you can be a very good teacher and you will learn and enjoy what you are doing.
So what's that one thing you love about your journey and the profession the most?
One thing that I love, I would say, is I'm doing what I always wanted to do. As a childhood dream, I always wanted to be a teacher, and I am one. So I'm living my dream and I'm very happy. And with that dream, other things just came up. I added doctor to my name, which was also a dream come true. I never thought. I got my doctorate here in Switzerland. So I'm very, very thankful to God that I could do it after marriage, after children, with the support of my family, because you can understand learning, reading, taking care of the family, teaching, and at the same time studying is not easy. And especially in a foreign country when you don't have any domestic help. So I did it with the help of my family, and I'm very proud that it was not just my effort, it was a complete team effort. And here the team happens to be my family. So I'm very proud that I constantly had the blessings of my parents. Ki karte jao. Karm kariye jao, don't think about what are the repercussions, So I think that's something Gita mein bhi bola gaya hai. So I was just paying attention on those small things from here and there. Karm ki chinta mat karo, don't worry about the result. Just karm karte raho. And that's what gave me the consistent push to give my best. And I'm living my dream.
So how would you define success, and what is the role of hard work, smart work, and luck in achieving success?
See, success comes to them who work consistently for it. There's no magical formula. There's no preconceived formula for success. You need to create one. Only when you work on your formula, success will follow. And it's important to work smart. Gone are the days, work hard. Work hard to sab karte hain. But aapko smart work karna hai, because only when you are using these smart gadgets, only when you are a smart person, you will shine out. Aapki energy, आपका वर्क, आपका काम will speak about itself when you are rising consistently. Because if you build in a day, Rome was not built in a day. अगर आप कोई भी चीज सोचो कि सक्सेस मुझे ऐसे रॉकेट की तरह मिल जाए, तो बस किताबें ही बातें हैं. ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है. That's just in movies that you see. In 3 hours movie, the person is rags to riches or riches to rags stories. In a real life, success is something that you need to work on consistently. You need to work, be a smart player, and only when you're a smart player, other things will follow. You will shine, and people will actually resonate with your energy. The more they resonate, the more you evolve as a person.
So what does leadership mean to you, and what are the qualities of a good leader?
Leader is a humble servant of the society, I would say. Whatever role you are playing, you have to be humble first. As a leader, you are leading by example. As a leader, you are serving the society. And it's very important, if you are an education leader or if you're a social leader, a political leader, whichever role you are playing, you are in the vision, you are in the mission of a lot of people. Everyone is resonating with your ideas. Everyone is looking forward to what is next, what is coming up. So since you are a role model for so many, you have to be practicing what you are saying. You have to be honest to yourself. You don't have to lead a double life. Samne kuch ho, piche kuch ho. You have to be transparent. As a leader, one needs to be transparent. One needs to be honest. One needs to be brave. Just as you are taking all the appreciation, you should be brave to have all the negative things also. Because jitni appreciation milti hai, utne joote bhi padte hain. So as a leader, aapko dono ke liye taiyar rehna hai. Just take everything with a pinch of salt and go for it. क्योंकि जब खाने में नमक होता है, हर चीज अच्छी लगती है. But खाना अगर फीका होता है, तो नहीं अच्छा लगता है. And that's why it's important. As a leader, you have to be prepared for all kind of situations, whether it's adverse, whether it's great, whether it's wow. And try to be helping more and more people. Try to have a great team. आप जैसे जैसे आगे आगे बढ़ रहे हो, don't think that you are walking alone. Try to walk with a team of people जिनको आप inspire कर रहे हो, जिनको आप अपने साथ में आगे बढ़ा रहे हो. So when you are growing, your team is growing. Or when your team is growing, you are growing. It should be mutually exclusive for both the leader as well as the people who are there with you.
So how do you make your work-life balance?
As a woman, I would say work-life balance is a must-win policy for everyone. Because when you're a woman, you're wearing a lot of hats. You're wearing a hat of a mother, wife, daughter, sister, friend, whichever role you're playing in life. And also as a woman, sometimes we want to overpass ourselves. We want to do everything perfectly. So please stop playing the role of a perfectionist, because perfectionist is just something that makes you feel low. मैं ये नहीं कर पाई, मैं वो नहीं कर पाई, वैसा नहीं कर पाई, काश मैं कर पाती, ऐसा सोचने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. आप जो भी कर रहे हो उसको बिल्कुल खुले दिल से आराम से इंजॉय करके करो. बिकॉज द मोर यू डू, more you have fun, the better it is for you. And it's very important that you evolve in a consistent manner. It's not important to just be what you're doing or be satisfied with small things. मैं वो भी नहीं कह रही हूँ कि आप mediocre रहो. आप ऊंचा सोचो. जो आप achieve करना चाहते हो, try to keep on writing in your to-do list and keep on putting the ticks. और जिनके आगे ticks नहीं हो रहे हैं, work on them consistently. That means that's an area of improvement. आपको उस पर थोड़ा सा ज्यादा फोकस करना है. And only when you do that, I'm sure success will come to you and sky is not the limit. आप उससे much better करोगे, much अच्छा करोगे, because you have a good balance between your personal, professional, and I'm adding a third, social life. Because now we are always in the social limelight all the time, especially if you are a woman or if you're a man who is doing a lot of things for the society. So I would say you have to have a very good balance between all three, personal, professional, and social. And only when you have a good balance between the three, with your family, with your co-workers, and in society with the people that you are living in, you will evolve a very good and a stronger person.
So what message would you like to give to students who are going to join their first job?
My first message would be consistent and honest. Success will follow. You don't have to become successful on day one. Dream big. But with dreaming big, you should also be consistent to achieve those dreams. क्योंकि खाली बोलने से, कहने से मुझे करना है, आप नहीं कर पाओगे जब तक आप उसके लिए वर्क नहीं करोगे. So you need to have a consistent approach. You need to be transparent, be honest to yourself. Only when you're honest, other things will come hand in hand. And of course, give your 100% to your job. Not that you're giving 100% on Monday and by Friday it becomes 30. ऐसा नहीं. When I say 100, it should be 100 on Monday and 100 on Friday as well. But of course, ups and downs do come. ये बोलने में बहुत अच्छी लगती हैं बातें, सुनने में बहुत अच्छी लगती हैं, but करने में बैंड बजती है. So करने के लिए बहुत बड़ा जिगरा होना चाहिए, बहुत अच्छा इमोशनल बैलेंस होना चाहिए. And only when you're emotionally strong, when you're emotionally intelligent, you can work consistently. Because life is not a bed of roses. Life is not as easy जैसे आपको Facebook पे दिखता है या जैसे आपको Instagram में दिखता है. They are all filters. So don't get disheartened, don't get impressed or don't get influenced by those things. Because people are always sharing, people are always posing things which are good. Grey days कोई नहीं शेयर करता है, black days कोई नहीं शेयर करता है, Black Fridays होते हैं, but it's good for marketing. So to be a successful person in life, it's your first job. Be honest. Only when you're honest, आपकी honesty, आपकी transparency will be seen by your supervisors, will be seen by the management, and you will get other opportunities opening up bit by bit. जल्दी में रहने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. It's not a race, it's your life. So life को life की तरह जियो, race की तरह नहीं. Go with a good speed, because अगर बहुत तेज स्पीड से जाओगे, एक्सीडेंट होने का खतरा है. So enjoy what you're doing, enjoy the rhythm of life. If you enjoy the rhythm of life, there'll be a good balance, and you will have a good balance in your personal, professional, as well as social life. And that's what is going to be a lambi race ka ghoda for you.
So now we will start our rapid round. So what would you like to be, an employed or an entrepreneur?
A mix of both, because I'm playing that life right now as well.
Success in one line.
Success comes to those who work for it. There's no preconceived formula for success.
Your favorite destination?
Maldives.
Luck, hard work or smart work?
Smart. I always believe working smart will take you to places, because only then you can use these smart gadgets smartly. So there are too many smart things in my answer that I just said to you.
So your favorite actor and actress?
Favorite actor is all-time Shah Rukh Khan. I just love the way he acts in the movies, and now it's also a bit of Salman Khan. So these two are my favorite actors. I am a women empowerment pro, so I love Deepika Padukone, Kareena Kapoor, Alia Bhatt, Priyanka Chopra. These are the 4 women in the present day world that I admire. And from the past, I have Wahida Rahman ji, then Madhubala ji, and Geeta Bali.
Your favorite color?
Red. To some, it might look that it is red, it is danger. But to me, red is auspicious. Just as tilak, when you put the tilak in India, or the bindi, it is red. So it gives me a lot of positive energy. For me, red defines positivity. For me, red defines vibrancy and passion.
So one thing that you would like to change in teaching system?
The mindset of the people. It's a must. We need to change the system of how we are evaluating the students. Because the evaluation is just based on the exams, then it's not so good. But when it's consistent evaluation, or when it's consistent ways of feedbacks, that will definitely change. Because most of the time students don't even know how they are performing. Acha kar rahe hain ki bura kar rahe hain. So uske liye it's a must. When you are giving them consistent feedback, acha kar rahe hain to thumbs up, acha nahi kar rahe to chalo mujhse aap baad mein milo, kind of a thing. That will definitely bring a change in the people's way of learning. So we need to change the mindset. We need to bring more empathy in the classroom. We need to bring more gamification in the classrooms so that learning becomes fun.
So at last, one line that defines you.
I'm my favorite. I want to give challenges to myself all the time. I want to do and reach to the masses through education. I feel education is a must. And I want to leave a legacy in the field of education. I want people to give it in every form, whether it's your degrees, whether it's your college education or life education. It's a must because it will help you evolve as a person and grow as a human being. So Ruby is, I would say, other name for educating the masses, educating the people in life as well as professional and personal upliftment in their day-to-day life.
Thank you very much for your precious time. It was a pleasure talking to you, and especially learning about different teaching methods and how to interact with the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really like a rapid fire, but I enjoyed. I didn't feel that I'm in the spotlight. I felt I'm just talking to the people, close, dil se, and very well connected. Thank you once again. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for watching Amazing Mentor. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to get regular updates. Thank you very much.